Hi there and welcome to Thursdays with Annette. I'm so glad you're joining me today because I'm excited about the topic. It's about how do we socialise coming into such a big part of the year, and we're talking Christmas. I mean, I think that it's incredible how early Christmas parties are starting. I'm getting invitations for early, like just another week away, and we're talking Christmas parties. So I wanted to get you really knowledgeable and organised for how to deal with them. So I really want you to have pen and paper because I've got some really good tips that I want to share with you today, and I think you might need to write them down so you don't forget. But now let's just go back to last week because I had my apron on, I was in the kitchen and I made the white mud cake with blueberries. And everyone was loving that because it's such an easy recipe and it tastes amazing. So the three winners of book 4 last week, can we have a drum roll please? Brrr. Glenda Basinski, Debbie Smith and Faye Bishop are all very excited ladies, and in the mail is a copy personally signed of book 4 for you girls. And of course I'm going to give away something else fabulous at the end of the show, but also, excuse me, we're going to have a mega drum roll later on because I've got a super fizzy and fabulous announcement that I think you're going to love. So anyway, let's think about the social time of the year. So how do you manage to maintain your weight level when you're being a social butterfly? Well, it's simple. You take your good intentions with you. Now, as you put on your lipstick or you tuck in your good shirt, remind yourself that the event you're attending is not just based on gorging yourself with food with no responsibility to the consequences after. Look, I lead a really very high social life and I manage my weight well. So I thought I'd give you my top 10 tips on how to do it. Are you ready? All right. So the first one is, where possible, I want you to take something preferably out of my cookbooks because we know they're fabulous, but take something low fat and healthy to the functions with you. Now I'll give you an example. One time I was invited to a lovely lunch and I brought along my Wicked Chocolate Cake book too. Yes, it's fabulous. And I remember thinking that day, this is when I was losing my weight, I knew that I could calculate it into my day and I was guilt-free and fabulous. So I'm chatting away to everybody, we had lunch, I went over to get a piece of my guilt-free cake and guess what? Yes, it was all gone. I mean, stop it. See, this is the problem. People get to know that you do healthy and by choice often that's what they would rather have. So I learned from that I either take a piece and put it away so I don't miss out or just, make sure I make more of it. But this is a really good idea though. Taking food with you that you know you can have that's guilt-free will really help you. And the host or hostess will think you're fabulous because you're bringing something along to help them with their food. So why not? So that's tip 1. Now tip 2 is really important because what I do whenever I'm going to a function, especially if it's at a restaurant or a cafe, I'll go online and check their menu. Now most restaurants and cafes now have online menus for their lunches and their dinners and even for breakfast. So this is a really good idea to check and pre-plan what you're going to choose to have, because this way you don't get sidetracked by someone ordering something and go, oh, I really would like that. No. What you do is you stick with what you've seen on the menu prior to going and stick with it, because I think that way it makes you feel more in control. And I think that when you think about going out to restaurants, what would be some of the good choices to have? Well, I always go with the grilled fish or the meat. Always order the sauce on the side. If you're going to have salads or veggies, maybe, fill up as much as you can on that. And if there is, if you are really wanting to stick to it really closely, then always ask the waiter, what comes with the meal? I always ask this because I don't want any surprises when it comes, because if there's chips on that plate, stop it, I know, I'm going to have them. So take them off in the beginning, tell them no chips on the plate, and that way then it makes it so easy for you. And these are little things that can make a big difference to how you succeed over the next couple of months. And the other thing as well is, don't do garlic bread, and if you want to have 2 entrees, like have a cold entree and then a hot entree as a main and order a side of veggies. That's often what I do, especially during the day, because I find sometimes I don't want a really big lunch. Now, if you're having a big event coming up, Then the other thing that I like to do as well, and it really works, is I cut down a few days before or a few days afterwards to help balance out the extra calories that I've consumed at the function. And this way you're in control all the time. You can still go out and have a fabulous time, but then on those down days, you've compensated. And I think that one of the things that I always find works really well for me is, especially if it's a lunch and you've had a big salmon and salad or whatever, and you're thinking, well, I don't really know what to have for dinner, I just have one of my shakes. It's fantastic and it really keeps me calorie terrific, and it works really well. Now, tip 4 is avoid the finger foods that are deep fried, because you know that they're covered in fat and it's not a good thing for anyone on a healthy weight loss program. The other thing that I avoid as well is anything covered in pastry, because I always find there's no good to be had in those. And this is where I often make things to take as an entree, and I'm going to talk about some ideas later on, so I will get back to that in a minute. But really, just be careful of those nibblies. Those walk-around platters can be filled with lots and lots of fat and calories. And often you don't even know how much you've eaten before you sit down to your meal because you've been picking. I find I very rarely have the nibblies because I save myself for the main meal. And I'm too busy talking to everybody and being fabulous to worry about the food, and it affects your lipstick. So that's my suggestion. Now 5 is don't ever go to an event hungry, because you're going to just grab everything you can if you're starving. Now often what I've done in the past is I've chomped on an apple on the way down in the car, so that I've just taken that edge off that hunger. And I think that that really helps, because when you come hungry, you're going to order more. It's like when you go to the supermarket and you're really hungry, you often throw more in your trolley as well. So that's one thing that I suggest. And maybe make sure you have lots of water that day so you're not dehydrated when you go. Now, tip 6, now this is a good one. Now, if you're going to a buffet, which sometimes this will happen over the social period, is don't think that you have to eat everything you can to get the value of the price you paid for your buffet, because there is a price to pay on the scales later. So many times we gorge on buffets because there's all this food and we just don't know, we just have it all. That's really not a great way to go. Like for the dessert buffet, I've always make sure that Bill goes over and picks me something. I have a look and go, oh, I like the look of the apple crumble. And he'll go over and get me the apple crumble with a bit of custard, and I'm happy with that. Otherwise, I know I'm going to have to a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I mean, look, let's be honest. We're all human, aren't we? So maybe having these strategies to take with you over the festive season might really help you. Now, the other thing that's really important at a buffet is to sit with your back to the food. Don't be looking at all those people coming back and forwards and filling their plates up, because you're going to get missing out-itis. So make sure you sit with your back to the food and concentrate on the people you're with instead. The same thing can happen when you've got nibblies out. Especially, I do this on Christmas, for example, when everything's out on the table, when people have got all the different things you can grab, like the Scotch almonds and all those other different things. And we will talk a lot more about Christmas as we get closer. But at functions, if you notice they've got things out, just don't sit near it, because otherwise you'll lean over and grab things without even thinking about it. Now, tip 7, is this is a great idea. Be more active. Like when we're coming into such a calorific time, this is when you up your walking or increase your exercise. Instead of going 3 days a week, maybe go 5 days a week now. And that will really help you, because I think that at this time of the year, we're going to have lots of functions to go to, and it will really, really make a difference by the end of the year. Now, tip 8 is to fill up your plate with fill it high with vegetables and salad, and this would go for the buffet as well. The thing is, all that fresh stuff is going to fill you up and make you feel full. Same with fruit. It's a really good idea, to have fruit choices, and that leads me to the next one, which of course is avoiding those high-fat desserts. Now, this can be very tempting when you're faced with all these different choices. So I always think, when you've had a couple of course meal and you're out at a restaurant, you really probably aren't hungry enough to really want dessert. But it's that, once again, it's that missing out-itis, especially if other people order dessert, you feel like, oh, I want something too. Then what I suggest you do is maybe order a skinny cappuccino, because that's a great way to get that little bit of a nice something at the end of dinner. And sometimes you'll get a little chocolate on the side or a little cookie, which will make you feel a little bit like you're not missing out. But try that, because I think it really works. So skinny cappuccino over ordering dessert. But if you do want to order a dessert, then maybe share it with your partner or a friend, and that way you get less half the calories, which I think is a good idea. But once again, you're actually getting still to have the treat. What I always do with desserts, I was at a function for Melbourne Cup, and I ordered fresh fruit for my dessert, and it was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, and I didn't feel I was missing out. So this is where I ordered this ahead, let the hosts know what you need. And that's the other thing as well, is to check, find out when you're going somewhere, what's on the menu. I don't think it's offensive. If I was hosting a Christmas party and someone said to me, can I just check what's on the menu to make sure I'm okay? And I think that's caring for yourself. So, you know, if someone was a celiac, they would really want to know if there was options there for them. So why can't we be the same? We're looking at being healthy and fabulous, so make sure you don't demean yourself to please others. So find out what's on the menu, and then if you find that there's not a lot there, then maybe that's where you bring something and share it with others, but make sure you're okay. Now, when you think about drinking alcohol, I think this is a really important topic, because it is, once again, part of that social thing that we love in Australia, and it's having a drink. So what I suggest you do is, when you get to the event, it's proven fact that you're normally quite dehydrated by the time you get there. So you'll just guzzle whatever you're drinking. So I suggest start with a couple of waters. You know, you could always have some ice and lime in it to make it look a little bit fabulous. And then maybe have a couple of wines, or even spritz it, like with half wine, half soda water, or a light beer. And if you're having, you know, a Scotch and Coke, always get the Diet Coke to go with it. But try and sort of limit the alcohol, because it is lots of calories. So just be aware of that. Now, can I just give you a couple of suggestions on what you could take to a social event coming up? These are my go-tos, and I'm wondering if they might be yours as well. So straight up, I take everywhere I go a Mexican dip. I love it. It's out of book 3. Everybody loves it. I even took it last week to a Halloween party, and I got an extra yogurt that goes on the top. I coloured it with black essence, colouring, and I made a web on the top of it. It looked fantastic. And so, you know, it's just one of those things that I love for any events. Another one is making the slices, like the zucchini slice, the ham and asparagus slice, the ham and corn slice. They're all out of the books. And I make them in a square tin opposed to like a round one, so I can cut squares, so it's really good for finger food. And that's one that if you found that no one was having anything nice for you in the nibbly side and the starters, that could be something you could take, because they're super easy to make. I love my sausage rolls, my normal sausage rolls in book 2, or the Moroccan sausage rolls in book 7. People love them. You'll be the most favourite person at the event if you bring along my sausage rolls, but I just cut them a bit smaller than the normal size, just so there's more to go around. There's lots of dips that you can also do. In book 4, we have a section on party food, so how perfect for you. So please look to that if you've got book 4. And the other one is the salads. If you want to take a salad to a function, my favourite go-tos, I mean, there's lots of them. I was being a bit, you know, I can only give you a couple. Asian salad and El Dorado salad are fantastic to take to events. And desserts, look, there's just so many, you know, there's so many, like the trifles are fantastic at this festive season, cheesecakes, all those sort of things. You're going to have too many to choose from in the books. So one of the things that I think you should be thinking about is giving yourself this festive season the best gift of all, and that's healthy living. So don't sidetrack just because it's Christmas. This is going to come around every year for you, and it's more than just about food Christmas. It's about celebrating your religious faith. It's about being with family and friends and just having a great time. So don't put food as the big priority. And if it's possible, for those that are hosting events, why don't you offer some low-fat choices and watch how much people enjoy them? So I hope you've got some tips from that. I mean, who knew weight loss could be so deliciously healthy doing it my way? Now, the great thing is the book I'm going to give you today, if you want to be a winner, is exactly that. It's book 4 and it has the party food section in it. So I know you want that. So what you need to do to win book 4 is, let me get my little sign. You need to like the page. You need to then share. And then in the comments, write hashtag Symply with a Y, hashtag Symply #2 good. And that way you'll go in the draw to win book 4, which has all those fabulous party foods in them. Now, next week, it's going to be all about burgers. I don't know about you guys, but I think Australians, we love a good burger. So I'm going to be doing my beef and bacon burger for you next week in the kitchen, but I'm also going to be giving you lots and lots and lots of tips on burgers. So I think you'll really enjoy that. Now, before I finish up, always remember to go to the website www.simplytoogood.com.au for more tips and recipes. And can I now get a super duper drum roll, please? Woo! Thank you, Diane. That was very good. My new announcement. Get ready, folks. Yes, there's a new book coming in December. Woo! I know. Am I excited? You betcha I am. Now, it's not a book 8. What could it be, she says? Well, it's cooking for 1 or 2 people. How awesome is that? So where you'd go in and have lasagna serves 8, it now serves 2. You know, that's just an example. Lots of great recipes, some new ones in there as well. If you want to know more about when that's actually going to be released, then you need to sign up to my newsletter because they're always the first to hear. They've actually today received the newsletter with a picture of the cover. I know, cooking for 1 or 2. Yay! Anyway, guys, sorry about the hiccup between there, but I'll be talking to you next week. I'll be coming to you live from the kitchen, and I hope you have a fantastic week. Bye now.